Hey guys, what's up? So recently I just started playing Ghost of Tsushima again, and I think it's really fun, even after 3 years at this point, I think. But if there's one thing I love in the game the most, it's the bow and arrow. There's something about it that just feels super satisfying to shoot, and it's really strong, one-tapping enemies for most of the part. Like, look. Yeah, it's insane. But the reason I bring this all up is because I've recently plotted Elden Ring and have been wanting to play the game again. And I thought since I love the bow so much in Ghost of Tsushima, why not try to beat Elden Ring only using the bow? So that's where we are. Can you beat Elden Ring only using a bow and arrow? And yeah, you for sure can. But I suck at the game, like really bad, and you're about to see. And I also thought it would just be fun because I've never done a challenge run before. But I'm gonna stop talking and I'm just gonna get in the video because this is getting really long. So I hope you guys enjoy. I wanted to see how much the starting bow did, so I tried to beat the hardest boss in the game, but I ended up dying 334 times to this guy, and I just couldn't do it. I'm not sure why From Software hasn't thought about nerfing this guy, but they really need to, because I'm getting beat 10 times harder than my dad has ever beat me before. Anyways, after that, I ran to the merchant guy to buy a crap ton of arrows, but sadly I was too broke and could only afford around 20 arrows, so I ended up making my way to the dragon for runes. But I'm not really sure what happened. I must have had like a really bad brain fart or something, because I quickly realized that I needed blood buildup for me to even have a chance to kill him. And then even if I didn't, I also bought like 20 arrows, so I couldn't even kill him normally. So I got kind of upset and realized I didn't even know what I was doing at all. I should mention that I really didn't put much research into it at first, so I didn't know what I was doing because I've never used a bow in Elden Ring or Dark Souls at all. So I was kind of running around in the dark and not knowing what to do or what to get. So I searched it up and there was a talisman that boosted my attack power by 10% I think. So I went to go grab that for the time being. And while I was trying to open the chest, I literally started to get jumped by these two knights and I started freaking out even though the grace was right there. I just really did not want to die. But I finally made my way to the chest and I opened it and got my talisman and turned into a roly-poly and started trying to escape. I think it was around this point when I realized that my bow was complete and utterly garbage and that I needed to get a new one. So I just looked up the best bow in Elden Ring and up came the pulley bow. So I decided I'll go get that. All I had to do was get the 2 half medallions and the glintstone key, and it gave me access to Mount Gimir, which I got the pulley bow. And even with the pulley bow, I still can't pull epic trick shots on the freaking people in this game, and I still suck. I then next went to Fort Height for a crafting recipe so I can get some blood arrows. And for the final thing, I had to kill this guy so I can get the animal bones to craft the rest of the blood arrows. He's not that bad as long as you keep your distance away from him, but I ended up dying to him. So after decorating my walls with a few new holes, I killed him and got the bell bearing. After I made the arrows, I made my way back to the dragon for revenge and ended up struggling way more than I thought I would. It took me around 3 attempts and I ran out of blood arrows on my last try and had to use normal arrows, but I ended up clutching up and getting the runes anyways. The last thing I needed to do was upgrade my bow because I was doing absolutely no damage to anybody, so I collected the smithing stones, leveled it up, and finally after all of that preparation, we can finally fight the first boss. And Margot was actually surprisingly easy. The whole time I've been honestly struggling to kill things in this game and felt super weak, mainly due to the lack of research I've done and not knowing what to do. But after I figured it out and got my bow upgraded, it actually felt really nice playing with it. I really don't think I've ever had an easier time beating Margit, and granted it is kind of slow and to be a little patient with it, but if you just keep your distance for most of the part and hit all your shots, it's really not that bad and it goes over pretty fast. I did end up only having like one problem, and it's that the bow shoots very slow. I would only get like 1 or 2 shots off maybe before I have to run to the entire other end of the arena just to get another 1 or 2 shots off and repeat it all over again. And since I was shooting so slow, sometimes he would do a move where I would just completely whiff my shots. And it's not that bad with Margit, but with later game bosses that are pretty hyper, it was really scary to think about early game. I also do have a problem, even without a bow only run, and that's healing. Whenever I shouldn't be healing, I try to and end up getting hit a few times, and luckily he doesn't do that much damage to me, but later game bosses definitely will, and I'll for sure end up dying because of it. Also, please just ignore this last few moments of the clip. I was doing super good until I wasn't, and he just started beating me up really bad, so just ignore that. There's not much more to say about the fight other than I didn't find him too bad. Besides me getting beat for the last few moments, when I finally did escape, I ended up killing him, and it wasn't that hard. I'd say it's around like a 4 out of 10, just because keeping your distance for the most part pretty much made it really easy. But anyways, after killing Market, we get a second talisman slot, and I just decided to go get Radagon Seal because my health was looking pretty low, and that's my fault for neglecting it, but it's okay. After that though, I moved on to Godric, and he was even easier than Margit in my opinion. He was way slower, and his moves were really easily telegraphed, and the arena was super big, allowing me to kind of move around and get more angles and shots off on him. He also for some reason just got stuck in the gravestones, allowing me to get a really easy start, but I'm not complaining about it. Another reason I found him a little bit easier than Margit was because sometimes he would just walk really slowly towards me trying to look intimidating or something, but it would allow me to get a few free shots instead of Margit where he would just rush right into me, so that was way better. And if you were paying attention in the last boss fight, you would have noticed, unlike me, that I didn't use any of the blood arrows that I worked for, but I used them this time and they did way better. I got a few bleed procs and it was super easy. It just does a little bit more less base damage, but that's okay. It's a good trade-off in my opinion. Also, one thing I noticed I thought was kind of cool was when he does like little wind spinny attack, it would like knock back my arrows, and I really had no idea about that because I never used the bow before. One little problem I did have that wasn't that bad was the distance, where I would try to shoot him a little farther away and it would just miss completely, but it was okay for the first few fights. I just wanted to get that changed for later fights. But other than that, the fight was super easy. I would say it's around a 3 out of 10. If you just keep your distance like Margit, he's pretty simple, and he went down pretty easily. After that, I checked to see if there was a talisman that made my arrow shoot farther, so I wouldn't have that problem again. And I also think the damage doesn't drop off as much when I'm farther away, but I'm not 100% sure. I then went to get the composite bow to see if it helped, especially for the next boss I was going to fight because he jumps and moves around a ton. And then I upgraded a crap ton all the way to like plus 12 for now. I then figured out that I wanted a lightweight class, so I had to put on these clothes, and that's all I had for now, but don't worry because I promise I'll get me some more drip later on. I had also looked up a good Ash of War to use on the light bow, so I went and got the barrage skill that just allows me to shoot a whole bunch of arrows really quickly. After so, I went and bought 2 new arrows. I got the fire arrows and the poison arrows because I want to be doing some kind of damage to the boss's health since it was so hard to hit a shot. Oh, and how I promised about the drip before. After absolutely drowning in head to toe in drip, I went to fight the wolf, and he was actually the hardest boss I've fought in so far. He jumps and moves around so much, making it super hard to hit a shot off. I also did mess up in the first few seconds of the fight. I kept zooming in like first person, and after that I really never got my head back into it, and I was struggling a ton to dodge anything. Also, I'm not sure why, but I went and got that composite bow specifically to fight this boss, and I just never ended up using it once. I'm not really sure what I was thinking, but it was doing good enough base damage with a pulley bow where it didn't matter too much. Also, just like before when I said that I would try to heal when I'm really not supposed to, I kept doing that a lot over here and was getting beat really bad for it. And not just healing as well, I kept trying to shoot the bow when I really was not supposed to, and I also kept getting beat really bad for it. Unfortunately, I did beat him the first try, so I have to show this terrible booty footage, and I really did not want to show you guys me getting beat this bad, so please just ignore it. But yeah, I would say he's like a 6 out of 10, and the only reason I don't put him higher in the list is just because his health isn't that low, and it wasn't that long of a fight. Straight after though, I did go to fight Renala, and there's not that much to say in the first phase at least, because in the second phase, I did end up struggling quite a bit. I did end up having to break her bubble 3 different times before I killed her, and the first phase wasn't too long. Most of my time was kind of just spent running around trying to find the right girl to kill, which I just can never seem to find. Again, like last time, I kind of forgot to change to my composite bow because I kept getting smacked in the face with books a lot, but I was doing really good damage, so I didn't even think about it really. I will say she is the very first boss that I would much rather prefer a melee build with instead of a bow build, just because I feel super stiff, and once you're already in the shooting animation, you can't really roll away. But after I got her to her second phase, I ended up struggling a lot. She would cast this one magic spell where she would like jump side to side, and it made me miss every shot I took, and she loved to spam that. I also had to stand kind of far back enough to where when she would cast her own spell, it wouldn't hit me while I was shooting her, so I'm really glad I got that one talisman that boosts the range. It did get a lot more difficult though when she started summoning things, especially the Bloodhound. I could kind of deal with all the other summons, but that one would just chase me forever and would not stop. I also ended up dying, and when I did, I started literally tweaking because it takes so long to finish this fight. It's a lot of running. I know I'm doing a lot of complaining, and I'm sorry, but that's just because the fight is really more annoying than hard. I was doing very good damage, so it made it a lot easier to kill her, but it's still a really tedious fight like the Red Wolf of Radagon, where it wasn't that hard and I beat him first try. It just takes a lot of patience and a lot of missing your shots. But yeah, I finally killed her after a few tries, and I would say she's like a 6 out of 10 just because she's kind of annoying to deal with. But yeah, after I killed her, I went to go activate Godric's Great Rune because I wanted to try to stack up on health for the next few boss fights. I also did go back to grab Somberstone 7 so I can upgrade my pulley bow to +8. After that though, I went to go fight the Draconic Tree Sentinel, and there's not too much to say about this fight, but this is the first time that I used the light bow, and I ended up loving it so much. When paired with the barrage skill, I found it so easy to apply any status effect instead of just kind of shooting him really slowly one by one. I'd also figured out by accident during this fight, and that's if you jump, an arrow comes out way quicker than just shooting it normally, allowing you to kind of get any shot off when you really wouldn't before. So I ended up using that a lot during this fight. One thing you may see me doing a few times during this fight is when I'm using the barrage skill, I would let go of the weapon art button on the very last shot, making me do a normal shot, and I would get hit every single time I did it. I'm pretty sure the only times I really did end up taking damage during this entire fight was due to me doing that, but later on I did end up fixing that little small habit, so it was okay. Also, despite the last boss, I actually really love this fight. I only died I think 2 times, but that was only because I forgot to press the record button, so I just ended up killing myself to restart. But this fight was actually really fun. On my last playthrough, I ended up getting really used to this guy's moves because I would just die so much to him, but to dodge everything this time just felt really nice and satisfying. But yeah, there's not really too much to say anymore about this fight other than I enjoyed it a lot more than Renala, so it was a good palate cleanser, especially for the next boss I was about to fight. I would say personally he's a 3 out of 10 on difficulty. As long as you just time your shots right before he fireballs you in the face, then it's super fun. That next boss though is Radahn. And honestly, he was super easy. I think I leveled up a little bit too much before I went to go fight him, but the entire time before this fight, I was so scared for it. The whole reason I really was scared was because of his horse and how I thought he would just endlessly chase me and I wouldn't be able to get a single shot in. But yeah, I figured out pretty fast that if you just bait him into attack and right away, you can get a few shots in before he starts chasing you on his less cooler horse. One attack I did actually have to watch out for though was this like big circle thing where it would just suck me in, and sometimes it would literally just knock me off my horse, and I came so close to dying one time because of it. He also like flings these rocks and does this shockwave attack, but it's pretty easy to avoid for the most part, and if you just keep baiting those attacks out and you just get enough distance between you guys and keep shooting him, he becomes really easy, and it's honestly the easiest Radahn fight I think I've ever done. I did enjoy this fight as well, and I was actually having a lot of fun fighting him. But after doing a little bit of research before, a lot of people were saying the scaling with these bows suck. And they do, a lot, trust me. But I wasn't really having an issue with it, and I felt just fine, and like I was doing more than enough damage this entire time. I was super excited to kill Radahn though, because there was something I wanted to try out from him really bad, and if you ever killed him, then you might know what it is. But yeah, I would say it's like a 5 out of 10, just like every other boss. If you just keep your distance for the most part, he's really easy, and he goes down super fast. But this is what I wanted to try, his great bow. It's the first one I got in the entire game so far, and I've been dumping a ton of points into strength just so I could try to use it on somebody. The clip you're seeing right now is the bow at like level 2, so it does kind of suck right now, but it's hitting for I think around 200 something, so later on when I do upgrade it, it will become way better, trust me. Honestly, I was just trying to kind of see the moveset to see if I could get a shot off since it was shooting very slow. But after that, I finally made my way into the capital, and every time I get there, I literally just stare off in the distance forever because it just looks so cool. But after I stopped doing that for a weirdly long time, I go and grab the black bow, which easily became my favorite bow in the entire run by far. I then upgraded it to +7 for now so I can test it out on the next boss fight. After doing so though, I went to go fight Godfrey, and I'm not really sure what happened, but he might have beaten me so bad in the game that it actually gave me rain damage in real life, because all I wrote down after beating him was the fight wasn't too hard. But I'm clearly looking back at the footage right now and I'm getting beat so bad. Maybe it's because I don't usually struggle with Godfrey and I kind of find him easy most times, but my gosh could I not dodge a single attack during this fight. It's not even the bow's fault as well, it's literally just mine. He should be like one of the easiest bosses in this game with the bow if you just keep running end to end of the arena, but yeah, no, something was clearly going on with me at this time. I will say, the way I record these videos is I usually just beat a few bosses and record major events in between of them, and I edit it and do the voiceover right after so I can kind of keep the same feelings and make it a little bit more real. So I just really must not have remembered the fight going this bad, and honestly, I'm quite embarrassed you guys have to see me doing this bad at the game, but I do end up getting a lot better, so don't worry. Yeah though, for rating I would say super easy, like a 3 out of 10 if you just don't do what I did. He's clearly pretty easy, but I was just messing up super bad. If you play the game right though, he shouldn't be that hard. After beating that piss demon though, I run straight to Morgott. I don't know if he's Margit's brother. If someone can tell me, that'd be pretty cool, but he's just a slightly harder version of him. But he was honestly really easy too. He doesn't have any crazy moves that make it impossible to hit him, and I honestly just really enjoyed this fight. His first phase was really easy to be honest. The only things you actually have to watch out for is those daggers and the spear, but I noticed that as soon as he like steps down his foot and throws the spear, then you dodge and you should be fine 100% of the time. But it's really just a lot of running away, getting a ton of shots off, and repeating that a whole bunch of times until you get to his second phase. And his second phase, while harder, I enjoyed a lot more just because it felt cooler, to be honest. And another thing I noticed, just like never knowing during the Godfrey fight, and that's that Morgott will actually try to dodge your arrows. He does only end up doing this during the second phase, but it's not even that good of a dodge. It kind of sucks, to be honest. He only makes you miss 1 or 2 arrows before he just straight up bomb rushes you, letting you get a whole bunch of hits in, which makes it pretty easy. And just like before, what I said about the scaling and the damage of the bows, I'm really not seeing any bad things so far. And the black bow itself is putting out really good damage where I'm at in the game, so I'm having a pretty easy time, to be honest. But yeah, that's honestly it. It was just a super fun fight, to be honest, and I enjoyed it a ton. I'd probably give him around a 7 out of 10 just because he will close in the distance on you really fast, and you just have to be really careful with that and pay attention. Next, I go grab Somber Stone 9 so I can upgrade my bow to have a little bit of an easier time with the next few bosses I'm about to fight. Before I do go and fight the Fire Giant though, I decided I want to go fight Commander Neil for the second half of the medallion because I really wanted some new armor. I was honestly kind of tired of looking like an off-brand Bloodborne character, so I had my eyes on this one armor set for the entire run, but it was just super late game. You'll see what that armor is in a second, but first about Commander Neil. He was kind of easy, to be honest. Every other playthrough I've ever had with a melee build, I've always just seemed to struggle, but this turned out to be one of the easiest fights I've ever done, even beating him first try. His 2 little freaking goons he summons at the start of the round went down pretty fast, where before when I was using a melee build, I literally felt like I was getting jumped and could just never kill him. If you ask me, this fight sucks in every way possible with a melee build. If you really are struggling too, I would actually recommend a bow build this one time just because the added range and the amount of time he gave you to get shots in on him made it really easy. But yeah, I killed him pretty fast and I would say he's around a 4 to 10. He just does crazy damage if you get hit by him even once. I then went to go grab the other half of the medallion after trying the elevator for a minute to realize that I don't even have it. But after that, I can finally go get the armor, and I didn't know this about it, but listen to how silent it is. I had an extra talisman slot that I wasn't using, so I decided to start Alexander's questline for the Shard of Alexander. All I had to do for right now was go down to the underground city and grab the recipe for oil pots and then move on to the Fire Giant. And oh my gosh, was this fight hard. I ended up dying over and over and over and over and over again. I could definitely go on for hours and hours about how long and how hard this fight was for me. I believed I used somewhere around 1200 arrows, which if you do the math is 100 arrows per game just about, so that's at least 12 or 13 tries, which doesn't seem so bad, and it's not. But the fact is, I didn't even get close to using 100 arrows per round most times. A lot of times I would only get to like 80 and it would take just as long for sometimes. So yeah, this fight definitely sucked. I had to kind of adapt new strategies every time I went into the fight, and what I ended up doing was riding up to his ankle right away, shooting it a crap ton, and then breaking it. After breaking it, I would just ride away and torrent until I got enough distance between us, shoot him as much as I could, and then just repeat the process over and over again. And it mostly stayed the same for the second phase as well, so you can imagine this taking a good long while to beat him. Now listen, was it a little baby shot of trying to beat him? Yeah, it was, but I don't care. You don't understand how long this actually took me, and I'm kind of compiling it into like I think 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes long, which isn't too long, but I have way over an hour of footage just from dying of this guy. Also, forget everything I said about the damage scaling. While yeah, I definitely am doing damage here, I noticed a big decrease in it, and it wasn't that good. I did end up trying a few different bows, even Radahn's great bow like I said I would, and it did do very good damage. It was just way too slow, especially during a second attack, because he would just throw out these 2 fireballs that I could just never dodge on time. So I really didn't have much of a choice other than just to stick with the black bow and spam the barrage skill with a whole bunch of different arrows until he finally died. And yeah, about the arrows too, there was a problem I'd have where I would just run out of normal arrows every single attempt, and since it does the most base damage, you want to be using those. And I had to resort to the bleed arrows because I didn't have enough normal arrows, and after every single run I did, I never got a single bleed proc except right now where I finally killed him. I would say he's a 9 out of 10 just because every hit is almost certain death, and those fireballs. I hate them. But yeah, he was definitely the toughest boss so far. I then watched Melina die and burn the Earth Tree, got sent to Farm Azul, and went straight to the Godskin duo. And to be honest, I don't even want to talk about these guys too much. They're super annoying like always, and if you ever played this game, no matter what build you had, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The strategy I did end up coming with after a few tries was just to sleep the skinny one at the start of the fight, because he likes to dodge all of your arrows no matter what, sleep the fat one, and then just berate him with arrows. And to be honest, it's really just rinse and repeat after that, and I was done kind of fast. I would say they were a 7 out of 10, just because to get the sleep arrows was a little annoying, and if I had ran out, which I almost did, they would have became way harder. So yeah, I would say without sleep arrows, like a 7 out of 10, which I was trying to rank it on, but with sleep arrows like I did, I would say they're a 5 out of 10. They're really just more annoying than hard. After so though, I ran up straight to Alexander to finally finish his quest line so I can get the talisman. I also got the last somber stone for the black bow, upgraded it, and with all that done, I went to go and try to fight Malekith. And well, to be honest, it went about as good as you would expect it to go. I ended up realizing that I was way under leveled, so I went to go get the golden scarab talisman to boost all my rune gains. Farmed this bird for a good long while until I was a good enough level, and then really moved on to Malekith. And Malekith, like you would have guessed, was super hard. I honestly thought that he was going to be more tough than the fire giant, and that my run was definitely going to end at Malekith because I just cannot beat him. Especially on my past playthroughs, Malekith was the toughest boss I've ever fought. I'll talk about his second phase in a minute because that's what gave me the most trouble. His first phase though wasn't so bad, it just took a little bit of time to get him down to his second phase because I'm constantly running away and dodging and just trying to get an opening to shoot him. But it wasn't the hardest thing ever, it probably took me around 15 tries before I got consistent enough at getting him down to his second phase. And when I did, oh my gosh was he hard. Literally as soon as you beat him, he starts turning into an acrobatus and does like 500 flips at you. It's genuinely one of the freakiest things ever to be right up under him while he's just flipping at you. If you guys ever seen that one meme where that guy's just looking up scared, yeah, that's exactly how I felt. Anyways though, what I ended up doing during his second phase was running away at the very start because 9 times out of 10 I would literally die at the very beginning. Then I would really just try to create as much distance as I could and try to bait out any certain attacks that I thought were kind of easy to avoid, like one where he flips through the air and throw these red slashes at you. If you know, you know. Then waiting till he lands to get a few shots off, and most of the time I was doing that or just really scared out of my mind shooting whenever I thought I had the chance to. But yeah, I would give Malekith an 8 out of 10. He was definitely hard, but he was a lot easier than I thought he was going to be. It was just a huge mental barrier at first, but with enough attempts and learning his moveset, he went down after a good handful of attempts. Unlike Malekith though, Godfrey, the next boss, was actually super hard. And even though this fight took me a lot longer than most of the fights, I really enjoyed this fight. It was my favorite fight of this entire run. It may have been hard, but it felt fair in a way. Like there wasn't some random move that was impossible to dodge, or any move that would take my entire health bar away if I didn't dodge at the perfect millisecond. No, I really enjoyed this fight. I even was on this fight for so long that most of my attempts on his first phase was no hit runs. If I could, I really would go back and do this fight again. I never really appreciated Godfrey because in all my other previous builds, I would always use summons, but there was something about this fight that just felt 100% fair. Like if you were to die, it was on you. It was your fault. It really only felt like the only thing holding me back was me. It didn't feel like I was too underleveled or that my equipment wasn't good enough. It really just felt like I wasn't good enough and that I had to keep practicing him over and over, and I love that about this fight. Anyways, but yeah, I would love to know if anyone else feels that way about this fight like I do. And if you've never played Elden Ring before, try doing this fight without a summon. I always use summons in my last playthroughs, but I truly feel like this fight is so much more fun without it. But yeah, I would say it's an 8.5 out of 10, but he's definitely one of the more fun fights out of this entire game so far. Next is Radagon though, and just like Godfrey, I really love this fight. We're kind of having like a little boss marathon where I'm fighting 3 in a row, but it's okay. Getting to know his moveset though and dodge all of his attacks was just super satisfying. Just like Godfrey, Radagon was honestly one of my favorite fights of this whole challenge run, and his movesets complement one another really well, and it just feels very fair and very doable. Also, if you notice, I changed my armor. I was getting hit so hard and just literally having to chug all of my flasks in every single round I do. So I just changed my weight class to a medium to take less damage. And I got the tree sentinel armor just because I believe it has the best holy damage negation. I'm not really sure because I didn't look it up, but I just kind of remember from my last playthrough. I know we're already kind of past the first phase already, but to tell you what I ended up doing anyways was just using the poison arrows the entire way through because I wanted to save up on enough normal arrows for the Elden Beast since he's immune to all status effects. Also, the video you're watching me right now is when I beat Radagon for the very first time, so you're going to see me go into the Elden Beast with 6 flasks. I just want to say that right now so it doesn't look really sketch. I did end up becoming way better at this fight and really wouldn't get hit that much in the first half, but I just didn't record the other ones because I didn't want to waste space. So yeah, just don't mind this clip being kind of trash because I would be surprised too if I beat him like this. Yeah, super fun fight though. I would say he's about the same rating as Godfrey and just as fun to be honest. And last but not least, Elden Beast. And really, I don't want to say he was boring, but he was about any other Elden Beast fight to be honest. One thing that was different though, and that I honestly loved way more, is that he would not run away as much as if you were a melee build. All you really have to look out for though is those stars that just never seem to stop chasing you. You can never dodge perfectly, and be careful about his sword shockwaves, but that's really it. Sorry to spoil it so early, but I did end up having a super clutch moment at the very end. I had ran out of normal arrows and had to switch to my poison arrows, and I killed him with the very last arrow. But yeah, other than that, the fight was okay. I would say it's around a 7 out of 10. Just really keeping your distance like most bosses makes it pretty easy, and there's not really much else to talk about during this fight. So to finish it off, I'll just talk about how I feel towards this challenge and if you should really do it or not. And personally, I think if you want to do a challenge run, go ahead. This wasn't the hardest thing ever to do, and it was my first challenge run ever, so I might be kind of biased while saying do this first, but you know. Would I recommend this for a normal build though? No, probably not. As your first build, I definitely would not recommend this. There's a lot more fun builds out there, and really the only thing it's good for is that Commander Neophyte, which I'm still thinking about. Yeah, that's really it for the challenge though. I want to say if you're still watching this, thank you. It took a long time to make, and I really enjoyed doing it, so I hope to keep doing this for a while. This was my first video though, so if you want to see any other videos like this, let me know or tell me how to make these videos better. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you think I earned it, subscribe or even like. But yeah, have a good day.